Thank you. Thank you, DPS, for DPS Bangalore East, because I heard there are like North, South, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of competition amongst these different DPS schools that who's cut topper is cut topper, right? Thank you guys for inviting me here, and thank you to you guys for introducing me. Today I want to talk about my story and experience with the Bombay Review, and how I started it. How I started something which was really small. That was something which 2 years back was just based out of a college dorm room with 5 students who were in the team. We founded the Bombay Review magazine. Actually, I had the idea of the magazine at home one day. My father was watching cricket and like having parathas and stuff. And he says, Virat Kohli was doing something. And he says, Arey, Virat Kohli should have gone one step ahead or done this. Virat Kohli should have taken the shot on backhand. Stuff like that he was saying. And my mom got annoyed and said, Itna ye to tum kyun nahi kar lete jaake? And that's something which came to me because I was noticing the trend in India when it comes to literary magazines and literary journals, which are more youth-based, not the age-old Indian Express and Times of India. So I had the idea that this has to change. And if you compare this with other countries, even other cities, India lacks majorly. If you compare the number of literary magazines in New York, for example, it comes to about 800 in English. In India, there are about 25 in all. Compare that, just one city versus India. So I thought, why not start something like that here? So I started it first as an online blog. I curated a set of stories from within college and thought, I'll just spread it on social media, I'll tell people about it, and I'll have them read short stories and poetry. As it happened, the response wasn't really great. So what we did was we ended up writing for the issue ourselves. Even though we were founders and editors-in-chief, fiction editor, poetry editor, we thought we'll do it ourselves since no one is submitting right now. We designed a good cover and we sent it out. We wrote short stories, we wrote poetry, and we sent it out to the whole college in our mailing list. And after that, we started receiving a lot of good entries from people in our university. That convinced us that this could really go somewhere. There are a lot of universities in India, a lot of young students who want to write. They all don't have to go into that profession. They could be engineers, they could be aspiring doctors or whatever, but they want to write. They have opinions which they share on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media. They have poetry on the back of their engineering notebooks. So this set of people doesn't have an avenue to showcase their work. And that's what I thought about when I expanded it to other universities in Pune, where I was based. First, we went to Ferguson College and Lavle campus and SSLA and different colleges, and we told them, this is what we do. If you write something, send it to us. We have a team of illustrators. We'll get it illustrated, and we'll spread it across to our readers. One thing led to another. We went to Mumbai, then we spread to Chennai. Within 6 months, we had over 100 submissions coming in every 2 months. And this was really great because a lot of young people don't write. The people who write short stories and poetry are already established writers in their field. Now, the way it works, and the way I see it, is if you want to publish a book, if you want to do, and this is not limited to writing only. Like if you want to do something in the arts field, if you want to be a musician, a singer, you have to start small first. You can't directly pitch an album, or you can't directly pitch a book to a publisher, and he won't publish it. What you have to do is you have to climb the ladder. And a literary magazine like this is what is needed. First, you get published in these set of literary magazines. Then you expand your database, your resume, and then you pitch a book. So this is pretty much solely focused on young students and the youth of this country. Subsequently, we moved abroad. I moved to New York. My managing editor moved to Saudi Arabia. My assistant editor is in Mumbai. So since we expanded to different bases, we realized the potential it had for the whole world. What we did was, we realized how a lot of people want to do it, but can't do it, or don't have the resources to do it. But they are ready to volunteer. So we approached a set of people in Nigeria, in Minna, and we said, you guys read a lot, you guys write a lot. Do you want to do a small event for our magazine, where you call in big writers, and you call in poets, you do a panel, you do a spoken word poetry session, and then you take it forward from there. That was a huge success. More than 100 people attended that literary event in Minna, in Nigeria, and we started getting mails from all these people whom we had never met, whom we didn't know. A lot of us don't know anything about Nigeria, and yet there was this huge response which was coming in that there was nothing like this in the country, and such events and such initiatives should keep happening. So from there, we expanded to other African countries and other countries which don't have an avenue. For example, we did an event in Lahore, which was happening simultaneously when an event was happening in Mumbai. It was part of our peace project and cross-collaboration with Pakistan. And now that is something which is a unique idea, especially in the current scenario in India, because there's a specific kind of focus from certain groups of people to go to war. Anytime anything happens, go to war. And what I think is like an artistic collaboration or, being more vocal to your neighbor would be better than actually harping about war like Mr. Goswami used to do on Times Now. And so we did this project, we called their writers here, we sent our writers there, and it was a huge success. It was covered by like all the national newspapers in India and abroad. And that's such a good thing. Like, how many of you would have expected that India and Pakistan, and we are all really young, like we don't have a good base to do it. We don't have resources. It's all free. It's a non-profit magazine. We don't earn anything out of it. We don't charge anything out of it. In spite of that, we could create this huge set of audience in Pakistan, which was happy for the literary event, but it was equally happy and proud to have done something alongside with India, as we were to have done it with Pakistan. Then we did another event in Somalia. We went to other countries like UK, Ireland, China in the next month and stuff like that. But from that college idea to reaching where it is today is something which we can all do. It's just that we don't get off the chair. I think that's what this talk is more about, getting off the chair and doing something. There's a saying that you miss all the shots you don't take. If you don't try it, how are you going to know that you're going to fail or succeed, right? So if there are these ideas you have brimming in your head, you should get up and do something about it, and you will realize the huge potential. The magazine currently has a readership base in 120 countries, and none of us ever expected it. The most we were expecting was a nationwide reach, and yet it did happen. So, for example, you must have been inspired by, I don't know, I was really inspired back when I was like 10-year-old, and there was this episode in Looney Tunes, Baby Looney Tunes. Did you guys watch that? Yeah. So there was this episode where the kids, or the animals, set up a lemonade stall. Do you remember that one? Yeah. So they set up a lemonade stall to sell lemonade to people who, even their own families. And I thought the enterprising spirit, the desire to do something independently and earn or like make a mark like that is inbuilt in all of us. We don't all want to go into the race. I'm just saying that you can all have these ideas which you definitely do not do something about, but you should. So the Bombay Review went from the college dorm and then expanded to these many countries. And right now what we are doing is raising up and talking about certain issues in India. You must have all heard the known issues which we have learned from the very beginning: corruption, poverty, hunger. But apart from that, there are certain issues in India which are happening right now. And you might not know this, but 70% of India's population is below the age of 30. That's 1 in 12 people is a young Indian person in the world. And the potential this huge crowd has to make a change is huge, right? So the issues which currently face us in this generation are more to do with smaller things in life, like bans in the country. Bans are happening in the country, or forceful nationalism. Nationalism should come from within. There are a lot of these issues: feminism, LGBT, gay rights. All of these issues are of our generation. We are facing this. And through these ventures, or like whatever ventures you come up with, could be a music company, could be an art company, could be, I know a hair designer person who has made such a huge change. So every time she designs a hair, or like she works on somebody's personal appearance, she goes to the slums and brings the kids from there, not kids exactly, young women from there, and she shows them the designs which she does in her saloon, and she asks them, do you guys want any of this? And if they say yes, she does it to them for free. That's such a simple thing. Like, it doesn't take a lot of time to cut someone's hair, but if you're running a salon, you can help like that. If you're running a magazine, you can do something like what we did as a cross collaboration between India and Pakistan. So all of those ideas which are sitting in your head, how do you go about taking them from your head to implementing them to making it mean something substantial and known? And something like, we all have pressures. Parents are there. We have parents. We all are parents. So there's a pressure to, you know, make a mark, do well professionally, have a good career, salary, right? I'm saying you can do that alongside following your passion and dream or whatever small project on the side. Her project, her main thing was that she works at the saloon. But her side thing is that she also gives it for free. You can be an IT software developer at Apple, but you can also be interested in playing guitar on Cartoon Network songs. Anything can happen. You just have to do it. You have to follow that. You have to take that idea out of your head and use it. I'll give you another example. There are a lot of these small companies, startups actually, in the IT world, which are not necessarily developing software for the foreign companies. They are developing these unique intercommunication devices for the blind people, for the differently abled people to use. And as you might think that that's not something which is economical to do or which is not good for a startup to do because it's in the early stages and it's a big risk. But those guys sold the company, I don't remember the name right now, but those guys sold the technology for that device which enables a differently abled person and and also dyslexic person to communicate without telling anything or without showing anything. So that could directly go from his brain to the screen in front of the guy, and you can know what the person means. Those guys sold it to Harvard for developing the project further, and it was picked up for a huge sum. So that's a good idea. Like, it's not part of their main work profile, and yet they have done something which they were interested in to help, to change, to bring that small change. And if you take a look at the number of people who are facing these issues like dyslexia or differently able, it's not a huge number, but it's still his interest. The guy who founded the company, it was his interest to help this section of people, and so he did. So it doesn't have to be that you have to change the whole country. Nobody can change the whole country. And people say that we all have to come together to change the country. Even then, there are external factors that make the country what it is. But these small things, like, you guys are all sitting here in the auditorium, right? You could just easily have devised something. I'm not saying that you did not do well, but I'm saying you could have easily devised something to shield you from the sun today. You could have whoever forgot books today to bring. These are the small things. Like, you can just change that so easily, right? You're doing it now. Nice. So the story of the Bombay Review henceforth goes to our interest in raising these issues for the country. And as part of that, what we are doing is, I teach in a few universities in India, and I'm working on a project where we ask these kids to create, they're actually engineering students or first year, second year, but undergrad students. We ask them to do a creative project on the main issue they feel is important today. And people have come up with insanely creative ideas. So what we ask them to do is, you can create a song, you can create an audio track, you can create a comic strip, a story, a poetry, anything, a poetry piece, anything. But what you do is, you use that art form which you have created to talk about an issue which you are most passionate about. A lot of women in those colleges are coming up with such good creative ideas to help them put their point across about the issues they face today. And there are a lot of issues which women especially face in India today. So when they are all sending us these things, we are collecting them and having a huge database that our plan is to take the entire country's universities and have them create artworks. Not all the students in every class are doing it, but even if there are 5 students, 4 students, 1 student in a class who's doing this, who's raising the issue which he's passionate about and making something out of it, we are collecting all of them and creating a huge database for the country where every university is represented, every undergrad university, is represented and the issues they face talked about out in the public. There's no current platform for, let's say, the government or the people or the masses to know what each student or what the young people are facing. So this is what we aim to do with this. And right now I've taught in 2 universities, but in the next 1 month, we'll go to another 20. And when we collect all of them, in the first 2 universities, I collected 60 each, and the class was of 70 people. So people have issues. We all have issues. It's just that they're not talking about it. They are just keeping it in their head. That they have ideas that, this is what I don't like, and I want to do something about it. Or this is what I like. I think this should spread to other countries, or other cities, even your university. A simple blog on nature, a simple way to keep your gardens kept. It could be anything. It's just that you have to get out there and do it. And I actually, apart from the fact that my dad was eating parathas and talking about koli, another thing that prompted me to start it was that when you're young, you have like scope to do it. People say that I was young when I was 19 when I started it, but you know what's even better? You guys. It's 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. If I can do it at 19, you can do it at 17, you can do it at 15. The earlier you do something like this, it will reach its potential by the time you are 19 or 20 and you're looking out for jobs. And by that time, you'll still be in a credible professional field, like something like this right now. You won't be that worried. If you started really late, when you're 25 and you're in the middle of your jobs, you won't be able to do it. Just start as early as you can. And I can guarantee you this, each project that I have seen, each new startup, each new idea, initiative that has come up from the young people of India, from between 15 to 25, has picked up so much today, after 3 to 5 years, that it's unbelievable. There's even money coming in, which should not be a priority, first of all, but there's even money coming in which will stabilize your professional career. So it's a win-win situation. I don't know why someone would not do it. So I think you guys should all go out there. And whatever ideas you have, don't think about what the society is going to say, what your friends will say. Most often than not, your best friend is going to say, "Arey, ye to ho chuka hai, ya isne kiya hai, ya this won't work." But still do it. You don't know if it will work. Your best friend is no expert anyway. You go online and you check whether that thing can work or not. So with that, I would like to just request you all and say that go out there and just start it. Just start it and see where it goes. If it fails, let it fail. Start something else 1 year later, 3 months later, next day. But just go and try first. Something will happen. Thank you.